Hello, my name is Elizabeth Kalana. I'm going to be talking about Medicare for All. It's going to be for my persuasive speech. This is my mother. She's going to be for my audience today. And why I will be talking about why I believe that we as Americans deserve Medicare for All, especially at this day and age where we have a certain administration who is against Medicare for All. They're trying to do everything that they possibly can to privatize healthcare when so many millennials and so many Americans are approving Medicare for All, which we've already seen documents, news reports about people not being able to afford certain types of procedures, certain types of medications. There's been women who've said that they can't be on birth control because it's too expensive for them or because their job has currently taken off from their health care. And now we hear that Planned Parenthood is not going to be having the type of money to be able to stand to fund, and that is a huge deal. Especially, there's been people that have been, everything happens. Either you can lose your job one day, you can either not be able to afford your healthcare. You have to either pick, should I pay my rent or should I pay my healthcare? Americans shouldn't be having to make those hard decisions. They should be able to have some type of peace of mind where they know, okay, I can pay my rent, but I can also know that I can sleep at night knowing that I have my healthcare. They should be able to feel some type of relief knowing that no matter what happens to them, they would always be able to afford healthcare. They shouldn't have to be worried about, I need to take care of myself because I can't afford to go to the hospital, I can't afford to go to the ER. There's been people who have been not wanting to go to the ER for anything. They could be passed on the floor, they could be almost to a point where they can't even breathe, and they would rather do anything else than just to go to the ER, because the ER alone, they charge you almost $3,000 to $4,000 just for a visit, and that's not even seeing a doctor yet. And that should not be. That is a crazy amount that no one in the middle class or the lower class can afford. It's not a realistic number. And I feel why this has become such a popular topic is because we've had Bernie Sanders, who was a presidential running candidate in 2016. He ran the campaign on Medicare for All, free education. It really took a hold for millennials. They really heard with it, they felt with it, they agreed with everything that he was saying. They understood that it is a right to have free healthcare. You shouldn't have to be at a certain class. You shouldn't have to be receiving a certain amount of money every year to be able to afford healthcare. A lot of Republicans, a lot of conservatives feel like that's a privilege that one has to earn. It shouldn't have to be earned. It should be able to be a right. You should be able to go to a hospital, to an ER, and be like, you know what, they're going to take care of me no matter what happens to me, and I won't have to be worried about if I have to pay out of pocket. It shouldn't have to feel that way. Something that is simple as an aspirin or a Tylenol, it will cost us $500 to $600 here at the hospital. But then if you go to Canada or Mexico or Europe, it costs from $50 to $100. So I don't understand why it's so expensive here in the United States, especially that we're the richest country in the world, and we actually spend more money on healthcare than any other country in the world. But the thing is, with us Americans, we privatize more on healthcare than any other country in the world. That's why we're so expensive, because we're privatizing healthcare instead of realizing that it's a right for us as Americans, especially with people who have pre-existing condition. And now we have this administration that's wanting to make sure that anybody with pre-existing condition, that means pregnant women, cancer victims, anybody like that, if you had a pre-existing condition, you are pretty much, you can't see the hospital, you can't see your own doctor, because you're going to be afraid that they're going to bill you $5,000, $10,000 right out of pocket. And that's insane. That's crazy. It makes no sense how Republicans nowadays and conservatives nowadays want to argue that, Americans do want to privatize healthcare. How do we want to privatize healthcare when it's already hard enough to have healthcare? Me as a single mother, I don't even have healthcare at the moment. I haven't had healthcare for the past 2 or 3 years. It's been a while since I've had healthcare. And me as a mother of two, I shouldn't have to be worrying, oh, I need to take care of myself. I need to make sure that I am in the greatest condition ever because, God forbid something happens to me and I don't have any health coverage. I shouldn't have to be worried. I shouldn't have to have that type of worry over my head on top of I have to pay for my bills, I have to pay for my rent, I have to make sure that my children are fed. And this is real problems that are going on nowadays. I know I'm not the only one. There's a lot of young people, there's a lot of college students, there's a lot of young parents who are going through the same thing that I'm going through. So of course it's going to resonate with us about Medicare for all because that's what we want as Americans, as individuals. We want to have that right. So I believe that us young Americans, we are ready for it, but I feel as the older generation, the more conservative, the more Republican, the more older Democrats, I feel like they're not ready for that yet. And the reason why I say that is because there's a lot of lobbyists, there's a lot of people that are financing through private insurance, so they don't want to lose that money. So they're gonna fight and argue and say that it's unrealistic, we can't afford it, but in reality, there's been proof that we can afford it. We can afford to pay for so much money on military, we can afford to, do so much different things, but we can't afford for healthcare when we're the richest country in the world. And it's because they've already implemented that type of standard for so many years. They've already said, oh, it has to be privatized. Government cannot be involved in healthcare. They don't want government in having that much responsibility on their shoulders. They would rather pick and choose what type of healthcare we want from certain states, and it shouldn't be that way. The government should be the one to say, you know what? No, this should be the one for everybody. Everybody should be included. Everybody should have a healthcare. Everybody should be taken care of. That's how it needs to be.